Hey folks, Judd Zulgad, 1500 ESPN here along with Stella the dog. Hey Stella. We have watched the Blackhawks once again beat the Wild, take a 2-0 lead. Hey, can you knock that off? They didn't win. Blackhawks take a 2-0 lead in this series with a 4-1 victory today over the Wild in Chicago. They will return to XL Energy Center for the first game at home in round 2 on Tuesday night. And I'll tell you this right now, I just wrote about this for our website. If the Wild... Stella, why do you always have to lick me? If the Wild doesn't show significant improvement, and I mean its star players on Tuesday, this series is going to be over quick. I know the Wild came back from a 2-0 deficit against Colorado in the first round, and give them plenty of credit. Games 3 and 4, they overwhelmed the Avalanche, didn't they, Stella? They sure did. And came back and tied the series and then went on to win in 7. Well, these Blackhawks aren't the Avalanche. I've tweeted this several times, but the difference is this. The Avalanche had some really nice players. McKinnon, incredibly fast. The Wild had trouble stopping them. The Blackhawks don't have fast players. They have a fast team. They move the puck incredibly well. Look at the defensemen. When you compare the defensemen on Chicago to Colorado, look at the difference there. Duncan Keith, Seabrook, guys like that. Nick Leddy was basically benched in this game today in Game 2. Nick Leddy on most teams would be a premier defenseman. That's how good and deep this Blackhawks team is. Taves, Hossa, I can go on and on. But the Wild needs far more production, as I'm sure Stella would agree, correct? Oh, yes, from its star players, because its star players have done nothing so far. And you know what? I shouldn't even say star players. Core players might be best. Michael Russo asked a great question to Mike Yeo post-game press conference today. Essentially, it was more of a statement. He said, your top 6 players haven't been as good as your bottom 6 forwards. Now, Yeo tried to dance around that, and I don't blame him, because if he starts to name names and say yes, that means he's indicting Koivu and Parise, and we can go down the list. Pominville, Molson, who's been absolutely terrible. Do you want to get off my lap? All right, just sit there. Okay, Stella's going to go away, I think. She goes and sits in that corner. Anyway, go down the list. I looked up 9 players for the Wild. Molson, Koivu, and in no order, by the way. Molson, Koivu, Coyle, Pominville, Granlund, Parise, Suter, Spurgeon, Brodin. So I took 6 top forwards, at least who started the series as top forwards. Molson was demoted during today's game to the third line. Suter, Spurgeon, and Brodin. So I took what I considered to be top 3 defensemen. Now, Stoner's played very well, but I'm going with the guys who I thought to be the top 3 when the series started. They've combined for 2 assists in 2 games. 1 for Parise, 1 for Pominville. They've combined for a minus 23 in 2 games. Minus 6 in game 1. Minus 17 today. Parise was a minus 3 today. Suter was a minus 3. Spurgeon was a minus 3. That means even strength. They have been on the ice for 3 goals against and no goals for. The Wild scored the 1 goal today. Cody McCormick and Erik Haula were 2 of your best players today. Now, Erik Haula has emerged as a really nice story, and I think he's played really well, and his speed is good against the Blackhawks. But when Erik Haula gets promoted from the 3rd line to the 2nd line, don't say, oh, goody. Say, what the bleep is going on here? Because this is a problem. You don't want this right now. Haula looking good is good, but what you should do is have everyone else look good, too. That isn't the case. First goal for the Blackhawks, for instance, today comes on a breakaway. Hossa, bad play by the Wild. They get completely caught there. Defense was at fault. Hossa gets a breakaway. Brizgalov, who is not the problem in Game 2 whatsoever, makes an outstanding save. Taves follows it up and knocks in the puck because Mikko Koivu, your captain, didn't hustle back and get Jonathan Toews in time to prevent that goal. He could have hauled Toews down. As Toews trailed on the breakaway, Koivu could have hauled him down. That is not a penalty shot. It'd be a penalty, but who cares at that point? You're preventing a possible goal. He didn't do it. Yeo was asked about that today, and Yeo said, well, there's other breakdowns on that play. Well, of course there were, but you expect your captain to do more. Here's all you need to know about Game 2 of this series, and here's the troublesome thing. Zach Parise, first period, makes an incredibly irresponsible pass in his own zone, leads to a scoring chance for the Hawks, but not a goal. Pierre Maguire, who has gone out of his way on NBC's coverage, really anytime he does a Wild game, to praise Parise up and down, criticized Parise and said he knows better than that, he has to do better than that. When Pierre Maguire goes after Zach Parise, something is really, really wrong. And like I said, Parise made that play. It didn't lead to a goal. He was still a minus 3. Zach Parise was fantastic in the Colorado series. He's been very good. So you can't dump on him. But in these 2 games, Zach Parise and the rest of the Wild's top players have not done it nearly enough. After Game 6 in the Colorado series, when Parise played so well in the Wild forced Game 7, Jim Souhan, my former colleague at the Star Tribune, who's on with us weekdays, 12:20, by the way, that's Mackie and Judd, that's the plug for the show. Souhan asked Parise a question for his column and said, is this why you signed here? 13 years, $98 million. And Parise looked at him and said flat out, no, I didn't sign here to play in Game 7 in the first round. Meaning I signed here to play in Game 7s, but more like second, third round, Stanley Cup Finals. It was a great answer. But here's the thing. It's a great answer, but you want production on that question. And so when you have a game like the Wild did today, yeah, that doesn't mean that anyone's saying Ryan Suter and Parise and Koivu and the rest of the top players on this team should be traded, should be released, anything like that. It's saying for those who make that much money, there are great expectations, and the Wild and their top players certainly did not live up to those expectations today. So they trailed 2-0 in the series. Mackie and I will have plenty of more to talk about when it comes to this game coming up in the show 9 a.m. on Monday, 1500 ESPN. Thanks for coming to 1500ESPN.com. And one final look at Stella, who I think has gotten bored with this video. Why aren't you paying attention? You are in our key demographic. I'm Zulgad. See you later.